Good afternoon, dear investment professionals, dear financial analysts, dear ladies and gentlemen. We are happy to welcome you at the 60th edition of the ABAF BVFA Awards. It's a very specific edition. 60 years is something we should not forget. Since 10 years, the 50th edition, we organized always a very good get-together. But this year, due to the COVID pandemic, we are not able to welcome you in person. But we were very lucky because last year's winner, Sipef, offered us the possibility to be here at the beautiful castle in Schoten. Thank you, Johan. Thank you, Francois, for having us here. We're very happy that we can be here. But we would like to ask you a number of questions. And the first question I would like to ask to you, Francois, is about Sipef and its activities.
Well, Hans, Sipef is a plantation company. It's a sustainable tropical agriculture that we operate. And we are currently working in 3 countries, and we are working in 4 products, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea and Ivory Coast, where we operate in palm, rubber, tea and bananas. But generally speaking, I could say that Indonesia today is more Indonesia and palm. Sustainable tropical agriculture, that means that we are a very labor-intensive business and that we operate a lot of hectares. Currently, we have more than 21,000 people that we employ, and they work on about 83,000 hectares operated in full by, I'd say, the whole team. Here currently, you're invited at our head office. We're 25 people here, and we're mainly concentrating on, I'd say, general strategy, marketing, IT, and general governance of the company.
Well, we are financial analysts, so I need to put you the obligate question, of course, is how is the stock performance of Sipef doing right now?
Yeah. So stock performance is related to palm. It's clear, 90% of our business is palm. Palm is a volatile commodity, so our stock price is also quite volatile. Less volatile, however, in the last few years compared to what we've seen in the past. The main reason, according to us, is that we are, I'd say, today supported by very stable reference shareholders, Ackermans and Van Haren and the Bracht family.
Okay. And if we now look to what's happening to the planet Earth and the rapidly changing environment, how does Sipef see the future?
Yeah. Well, we're operating according to a 10-year business plan, and we want to expand our business further in terms of land areas. We would like to get to 100,000 hectares in the next 5 years from now. 100,000 hectares planted, operated under a very sustainable science and performance picture.
Thank you very much. Johan, can I ask a question to you? You've been the winner of the 2019 Awards for Best Financial Information. You had excellent scores on investor relations. It was really remarkable. But how did you live now this year of being a winner on the one hand side? And are there still points, and there have to be points, where you think, okay, we can still improve this on financial communication, we could still improve that on non-financial communication. What's your point of view?
Yeah. Of course, we were very proud to get this recognition from the financial analysts, because we're working with a very small team on investor relations. We have Francois and myself being responsible for external communication, and we are assisted by our colleagues, a management assistant and mainly 2 financial controllers who help us for the preparation of the press releases and the presentations. We don't have a dedicated investor relation professional or a communication team behind us. Second point, in addition, the reward came at an excellent timing. Sipef in 2019 was experiencing the worst financial and operational performance since the Second World War, and this reward, together with the celebration of 100 years of Sipef, were the only highlights of the year, so to say. So as far as why I think we won the trophy, I think it's because of the consistent and open communication to the market. Francois and myself, we share this responsibility for the last almost 15 years, bringing the same consistent message on performance and strategy. So I think that's very helpful. We have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
And as a last point, I think we received some additional appreciation from the jury last year. By the way, the open communication on 3 consecutive volcano eruptions in Papua New Guinea, one of our main operations, and the way we communicated on the possible impacts of that. Looking at improvements, of course, there are many, as you say. There are always possibilities to improve, but everything has a cost.
Yep.
So we look at cost benefits all the time, and I think for 2020, where our main focus is the implementation of iXBRL. So that should help the financial analysts to better capture our financials. And then on a bigger picture, I think we're not the only company, we are focusing on the non-financial information where we try to move or to lift our performance or reporting performance to a higher level. And I think it will take a couple of years before we get to the same stability as the financials, but we will get there.
Yeah, and while you are improving, and then in the middle of all of this, then you get COVID-19 in 2020. Question to you, how is Sipef doing? Because you're an international company, you've got people everywhere. So how do you keep in contact? What's the impact of COVID-19 on Sipef as a whole?
Well, Hans, we started the year quite well with very good prices. Supply and demand for palm oil was very good. So we started off very well, but then all of a sudden we had, I'd say, the markets being influenced by the COVID effect of, I'd say, dropping performances in economics. So we saw the price drop rather steeply. But as soon as, I'd say, March, April, May was over, we saw demand coming up again and getting back to, I'd say, the normal supply-demand situation where there's a lot of I'd say, demand in the world for palm oil. So price-wise, we're back more or less by where we were at the beginning of the year. Operating-wise, production-wise, we've done quite well. We have productions which are very much in line with what we anticipated earlier in the year. But I'd say human-wise, we're suffering. We're operating in countries where we have a lack of support in terms of healthcare. So we have to take care of our people. We're in the highest alert situation internally in the group and try to keep that going to make sure that our people can still operate, but in the most possible healthy situation that we could provide as a plantation company towards our employees.
Also for ABAF BVFA, the year 2020 has been a year of change so far, and there's still more change to come. We started questioning ourselves strategically, what is our role, what is our function, and who are we addressing exactly? The landscape has changed enormously. From financial analysts, we are moving towards investment professionals, including private equity houses, family offices, corporate finance people, M&A people, asset managers, and all these financial professionals. For them, we are playing more and more a role of a center of expertise. So it means providing them insights on communication, on valuation, on investment behavior, and what have you. In order to do so, we are really positioning ourselves as the center of expertise in Belgium, but not only Belgium, because ABAF BVFA is also linked to the European Federation of Financial Analyst Societies, EFAS. And we're situated in Brussels. It means automatically that for ABAF BVFA, but also for EFAS, we're playing an important role towards different financial intermediaries in Brussels, the capital of Europe. And we are working for EFRAG, the European Financial Reporting Advisory Group. We are working for ECMI. We are working for IFRS. We are working in a lot of different constitutions to exchange, enhance this communication financially or even non-financially. We're also a center of expertise in the sense that we provide trainings. We've always provided trainings to different people. And we have for years, and we still have, the CEFA, the Certified European Financial Analyst Program, which we are still offering. We've updated it again and made it a lot more modern, more digital, more an exchange that can be used through screens, but also and always with a dialogue. Next to that, we have linked a second program to that, and that is the ESG program, the SESGA as we call it. It's also European-wise accredited, but it provides a lot of training into the world of non-financial reporting. A third program that we are going to start this year still is going to be the inline XBRL program. analysts and finance professionals know that digital reporting is moving ahead very quickly. Therefore, they will need to use inline XBRL, and training is going to be necessary as well. So we really have changed our position. We really have rebranded the look and feel of what ABAF is doing, but the main message is we are and remain a center of expertise for everything that has to do with reporting, valuation, financial analysis, non-financial reporting. It is very important for ABAF BVFA to stay in contact with the European stakeholders and the regulators that are really working on financial communication. That is also why we have invited the CEO of EFRAG, the European Financial Reporting Advisory Group, to be present here. Saskia, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell me in a minute what EFRAG exactly is doing on financial reporting, but also on non-financial reporting, the recent trend that we see everywhere?
Thanks ABAF and BVFA for inviting EFRAG here to give a short presentation on what we are doing. So EFRAG was established in 2001, and actually EFAS, the European body of financial analysts, was one of the member organizations. So if I have to say what EFRAG is doing in a nutshell, then I would say basically EFRAG is bringing the European influence into the international standing setting process in such a way that the resulting standards, and that is the International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, are fit for use in Europe. And then in 2018, there was the action plan of the European Commission, Financing Sustainable Growth, as it is called. There were a couple of actions for EFRAG in that plan. And one of them was the establishment of a European corporate reporting lab. We call it European Lab. And that lab we established, and actually the objective of that lab is stimulating innovation by identifying and sharing good practices. And we had a project on climate-related reporting. We now have the second project on reporting on non-financial risk and opportunities and the linkage to the business model. So that was our steps into non-financial reporting. But we have been recognized as a very important body here in this area already by the work that we did. And now we have received 2 mandates of the European Commission to do preparatory work on possible EU non-financial reporting standards. And one of the mandates is an ad personam mandate to our president, and the other one is a project task force that's currently heavily starting its work. So EFRAG is really an advisor to the European Commission, not only anymore in financial reporting, but also in non-financial reporting.
Yeah, and how do you see this interconnectivity between the financial reporting, as we were in the past, and now the non-financial reporting, as is where we are heading to as being EFRAG?
Well, financial and non-financial reporting are, of course, not 2 separate things. It's not 2 separate silos. There is interconnectivity between one and the other. And actually, some say that non-financial information is actually not the right word. Perhaps the word should be pre-financial information, because a lot of non-financial things are ultimately ending up in financial impacts on the companies and will end up in the financial statements. So, and there is a lot of connectivity between the two. We've seen the principles, the conceptual framework, but also there is the area, like for instance, intangibles, where we do work as EFRAG, we do research work on that, on intangibles that are not included in the balance sheet. So what kind of disclosure should you make? So you are not able yet to quantify them and put them in the balance sheet, but what do you need to know as a user of financial statements about these intangibles? And then the other element is perhaps materiality. You have the single materiality that we use in financial information, and now, at least in Europe, because it's not a worldwide principle, we have the double materiality. So not only looking on what the environment means for the company, but also what is the company doing on the environment? What is the impact of the company?
Okay. How do you see this evening's event of ABAF BVFA versus the activities that EFRAG is undertaking on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I think an award is a very important means to show that financial reporting corporate reporting, communication is very relevant for the stakeholders. And I think by having an award, you show what are the good or perhaps even the best practices here in Belgium, and that will help others to pick up the ideas, what is good for reporting. They're all using the same standards, but the reporting can be different. And actually, it's a bit similar as our European lab. We look for good practices, and by that, we hope to stimulate others to move. I think the award has a sort of similar idea. And probably what would be interesting, because you know, Hans, that we have the exposure draft on general presentation and disclosures, also sometimes referred to as primary financial statements. And if this results in a standard, we will see differences in the presentation of the financial statements. We will get this operating profit, we get management performance measures into the financial statement. So this will be an interesting development to see how the companies will apply that in some future, and that we will see then in the award event again.
Yeah, but not only into that direction, but in the opposite direction is, of course, how can users and preparers support EFRAG within those new developments?
Well, there are many, many ways that all of them can help us. I said before that one of the tasks of EFRAG is influencing the standard setting process. And we have to underline that actually, so our work is mainly before the standards are there, before companies use the standards. But also for companies and users, it's important to bring that influence before, because once they have to implement the standards, I will not say it's too late, it's not too late, because standards can of course change, but that's a long process. So it's much more helpful that we know what is relevant for users, disclosures and otherwise, and what is feasible for companies, what is practicable, what is too costly. So it really would be helpful if we get more and more input of companies and of the users. How can they help? We have regular surveys, we have outreach events, we do field testing, we do case studies, and we have calls on the stakeholders to help us there. To give a recent examples, we are working at the moment on a project, on a discussion paper of the ISB on goodwill and amortization or impairment, and we have a survey of companies that have M&A activities or goodwill amounts in their balance sheet, and we hope that they will contribute. Users, same story, they can help us to give their input, what is important in disclosure, what is relevant. If we take again this goodwill project, there will be all kind of new disclosures. They are proposed by the ISB, but companies are reluctant because they feel that it's perhaps some private information, confidential information. So where is the balance? So it's an interesting exercise. And in this respect, I think it's very useful to mention that together with EFAS and ABAF, BVFA, we are organizing an event on the 12th of November.
So we have a call for candidates, ladies and gentlemen. We need users, we need analysts that can help EFRAG on a webinar that is going to take place on the 12th of November. Saskia, thank you very much for these very, very interesting explanations and the role of EFRAG. And I think we are now moving to the main body of this evening. And I will hand the floor in a second to Luc van der Elst, our Vice Chairman, but he is going to introduce the awards for Best Financial Information and Communication. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Hans. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. In the next 25 minutes or so, we will share with you the results of the 2020 annual survey. And when I say we, it's because I'm not alone here. We have with us today Mr. Wim Allegaert, who is the chairman of the Belgian Investor Relations Association. Welcome, Wim. And we have Michael van den Houwe, CFO of WDP. And together we will discuss and present some of the latest trends and best practices in financial communication. So Wim, my first question to you is, Belier has been a loyal partner and supporter of this survey for many years. But what I would like to know from you is, when you were responsible for investor relations at KBC, what did you find particularly interesting or useful when you saw the results of the survey?
Well, thank you, Luc, for having me in the first place. Yes, indeed, we have from Berlier been sponsoring and supporting the ABAF Awards for many years. What is particularly interesting is actually twofold. On the one hand, you get great insight from the analyst community as a listed entity on all different aspects of the investor relations function, and it makes it possible for you to compare your own result with the best in class. So it's really a good insight in your strengths, but also in your weaknesses. And next to that, what is also important is that analysts can also give specific comments about what they like and what they probably dislike about your financial communication. And that really helps you to make your job even better than the way you're doing it right now.
Okay, now let's start with the different categories. And the first category is about non-financial information. And as you can probably see on the screen, there are 5 questions in this part of the survey. It's about the competitive positioning of the company, its strategy, and long-term quantified objectives. Also, it's about company-specific risks. But what I wanted to bring to your attention now is something new, and that is sustainability and ESG. And let me maybe go back in time to last year at the ceremony of last year. Actually, we organized a small poll among the people present, and one of the questions in the poll was, do you, as an analyst, incorporate ESG or sustainability in your analysis, or when you are a portfolio manager in your investment decisions? And we got 32 people in the room answering that question, and 23 of them answered yes. So it can be no surprise that for the first time we introduced a specific question on sustainability in this year's award. And maybe, Michael, a first question to you. How does WDP deal with this growing interest from the investment community on sustainability?
Well, sure. We notice a great and rising interest in ESG from the investor community. And what WDP did is that we developed 2 years ago a group-wide ESG framework, because we noticed we were having a lot of good individual initiatives, but no coordinated approach, in fact. And afterwards, along with the framework, we also developed a detailed roadmap with concrete actionable items so that it doesn't stay a vague strategy, because in the end, it should be in the DNA of the company. And that's why we also informed all our colleagues about ESG. What do we stand for? Where do we, as WDP, want to make a difference? How do we treat our stakeholders? And we put that after the awareness campaign also in the individual KPIs of the company. And so then, only from then, can you actually start to report on what you do in practice and not the other way around. And that is something we also try to improve yearly. But in the end, all companies will have to do more and better on ESG and also on their reporting, because I'm sure if you don't do it within 5 years' time, you won't get any financing anymore. And on the other hand, I think where there should be indeed frameworks and benchmarks, the ESG rating agencies are moving towards a more, let's say, criteria list, and I hope that the analyst community can also play a role in really evaluating companies that make a real difference.
Okay, well, you made some strong statements there, Michael. If we go back to the survey, we wanted the analysts in the survey to look for 2 different things. And first of all, we wanted them to find out about the ESG characteristics of the company and the intentions of the company regarding sustainability. And the second thing that we looked for was, is this information really helpful in getting a better view of the risk profile and the future financial performance of this company. And when we look at the results, actually, we were quite surprised by the good performances. I can give a few names. I will have to look at my notes. And in alphabetical order, let me just mention AB InBev, Colruyt, KBC, and Recticel, all with a very nice score. But the highest appreciation for this one from the analysts was for Barco. And I suggest that we have a look at some extracts from the sustainability report that you can find on the website of Barco, and where the Barco management presents its performances and its ambitions regarding sustainability. And for each of 3 pillars, as you can see on the images, there are 3 pillars, planet, people, and communities. And for each of them, new targets are set every 3 years. So in the 2019 report, we find the status of the previous targets, as well as Barco's new ambitions towards 2023. And to make it all more concrete, a broad number of key performance indicators is presented, as well as a roadmap towards these ambitions. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, let's proceed to the rankings and see who is the winner of the 2020 award for Best Non-Financial Information. Proximus has won the 2020 award for Best Non-Financial Communication. I would say many congratulations to you, Nancy, to you and your team for winning this award. Okay, now let's move to the second category, and that is about financial information. And here, of course, we talk about the numbers and especially the reporting of the financial results, full year results, half year results. And as you can see on the screen, there are 8 criteria in this part of the survey. What I would like to emphasize here is that next to numbers, of course, numbers from the P&L, from the balance sheet, from the cash flow statement, we also need to understand why the numbers went up or down. So next to the set of numbers, we need really good quality comments that accompany the numbers. And then, of course, also we want to be up to date and get some help from the companies to look into the future with good updates and with guidance. So, Wim, my second question to you is, what is Belir's current view on updates and on guidance?
I think that's a very relevant question. It's a very hot topic in the IR community. I think quarterly updates, full quarterly statements, and maybe even quarterly guidance can be very relevant if you're in a fast-moving sector, if you are a company in transition, if you are a company which has more predictability in its results. It's something you could consider dropping full quarterly results. But then again, it's also a competitive thing. If your peers are publishing on a quarterly basis full statements, then it's very hard to be the first mover on that one. So I think for the time being, the majority of the firms are absolutely sticking to quarterly statements to the benefit of transparency for the financial markets.
Okay, well, I agree with you, Wim, that guidance is probably one of the most tricky things when we talk about financial communication. I take with me from what you said that when it's difficult to give guidance, that giving updates and quarterly reporting can be very helpful for the analyst to get an idea of what is going on at the companies. And at least when we look at the results of the survey, it's no surprise that companies from sectors, less cyclical sectors, do better when it's about guidance and the reliability of guidance. And that is confirmed when we look at some of the better performance in the survey, we find names like Agias, Cofinimio, UCB, and also Proximus. And I suggest that we have a look at some of the information that was disclosed by Proximus end of March. So that was still early in the pandemic and the lockdown. Some images from a presentation that Proximus gave during its Capital Markets Day, where we find a lot of interesting information on guidance. Management of Proximus presented a granular forecast for OPEX and CAPEX for the next few years. We also received quite a narrow forecast for 2020 EBITDA and even a 3-year forecast for the dividend. Now, another important issue within financial information, of course, is the communication on financial debt. And especially in these difficult COVID times, it is crucial for companies to keep the financial markets informed about solvency, liquidity, upcoming maturities, information on covenants, etc. Again, looking at the results of the survey, companies that did quite well include, again, in alphabetical order, companies like D'Ieteren, Elia, Kinepolis, and Telenet. And I suggest that we have a look at some of the information disclosed by Telenet on its debt situation. What you can see on the screen now is some information that came out of a presentation on the Q2 numbers. And you can see here that we got an excellent view on the maturity profile up to 2029, the weighted average maturity and average cost of debt, also the untapped liquidity, as well as the evolution over time of the leverage ratio. And then if we look at the actual press release on the Q2 numbers, we find a table with all details for every major credit facility and information including on the covenants. So without a doubt, this is excellent best practice. But it has to be said, Mikael, that WDP also did very well on this one. Can you give some color, please?
Well, look, this is especially relevant for WDP too, as we are active in a capital-intense sector and are a growth company too. So to give you an idea about the numbers, we refinance 200 million euros each year, and we are a net investor for 400 million euros per year. So that gives you an idea about the amounts to be financed, and also we need to be clear towards our investors on how we aim to fund it and based on which capital structure. And that's why we have also provided very detailed guidance within our 5-year business plan communicated to the market on how we aim to fund that. And I would say that this is obviously today very relevant, but already for many years we provide in the quarterly statements an update on our liquidity. And that has always struck me as quite peculiar that we receive more questions on the actual absolute level of a loan-to-value metric rather than on liquidity, because in the end it's the liquidity or the lack of liquidity that will kill a company and not its broken balance sheets. And that's also one of the reasons why we also focus on non-traditional metrics, at least for our sector. For example, for the Belgian REITs, a typical debt metric is, or capital structure metric is the loan-to-value. But we also look at other metrics like net debt to EBITDA, which are a true, more genuine metric, I would say, on the true leverage applied to the business, because it's based on cash flow. And as you rightfully mentioned, how can you can only correctly value the equity if you get a deep understanding about the debt and the capital structure.
Okay, Michael, thank you for your testimony. And now I suggest that we have a look at the rankings and see who has won the 2020 award for Best Financial Information.
name is Rob Gooyens.
And my name is Bart Boner from the Telenet Investor Relations team. And so this morning we got a very nice mail. So we got the prize for Best Financial Information 2020. So of course, very happy and delighted to receive it for the third time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Bart. I think this is a very important sub-award for us, especially given all the changes that we had at the company in terms of acquisitions and investments, joint ventures and the like. It's very good to see that as investors and analysts, you very much appreciate the way we communicate transparently to the market. Of course, it's not just the prize for investor relations as such, but it's the prize for the entire financial department at Telenet. So thanks also to these colleagues for their help and their efforts. Thank you. Yeah. Goodbye.
Thank you.
And then there is, of course, the third part of the survey, and that is where we screen the best investor relations practices. And this is part of the survey that traditionally carries the highest weight, and this is always the case, and also this year. And it is, of course, also the most relevant category for many people active in investor relations. And Michael, I don't know if it's true, but I heard some time ago, a few years ago, that people in investor relations even could get bonuses depending upon their rankings in this survey. So my question to you, in 2016, when BDP won the overall award, did you get a bonus or an extra bonus for your results?
That's a good point, and unfortunately not. We should have done that, put it in the targets. No, just kidding. I think the award is very valuable, but in the end it should be the outcome and the recognition for the improvements you've done and the work you've done. So it should be the other way around. And each year internally we try to raise the bar as we grow bigger. We also want to raise the bar in terms of reporting standards, and each year we make a list of things which we want to improve. And there I would say sometimes it can be very simple, just listen to what investors and analysts are saying face to face, but also through the survey, which I personally find very valuable. And indeed, there I admit that the year prior to our win in 2016, we went very much into detail through the survey, and we identified a number of improvement areas. Like, for example, in the case of WDP, we worked on the non-financial communication part. And next year we will improve our website.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Maybe still you should renegotiate for the next time that you come out on top of this survey. Of course, 2020 was also a year where we had probably one of the least expected events, the COVID-19, the pandemic, and we just had to put this in our survey. How did companies communicate about the effects of this pandemic on their day-to-day operations and also on their financial performance? And well, I can say that we were quite pleased with the results that were shown in the survey, with a lot of companies actually coming out with a very high appreciation from the analyst community. And to give again a number of names, I would like to mention Befimo, Cofinimo, Elia, Fagron, Immobel, KBC, Kinepolis, Retail Estates, Umicore, and there were others. So what is striking in this list of company names, Wim, is that many, if not most of these companies are part of Belir. So I wonder, is this something that you discussed among your members? Did you exchange ideas on how to communicate on the pandemic?
Yes, we did look. It was obviously a very, very hot topic before summer. And in the beginning, it was actually an extraordinary situation. It still is to a large extent. But we clearly felt that in the beginning that the financial markets actually gave a pass on lack of guidance. In the beginning, it was actually sufficient for companies to say what the challenging items were and what the points of attention were. and that was sufficient because the market was very, very volatile. And then after a while, of course, people do expect that companies are able to put a number on what is going on or what is expected. And gradually, you've seen that listed entities have been doing that. So we went through this phase, and you could say that it was actually the topic that was most discussed amongst IR officers.
Okay, Wim. Now, before having a look at the rankings, there is one last reference that I would like to make to last year's poll, and that has to do with the opportunities that we get as analysts or investors to meet with company management. And getting more opportunities to meet and talk to management is often referred to as one of the areas where companies can improve and get in even better contact with the financial markets. More company contacts also is high on the list of ways to tackle investor activism. So I wonder, Michael, how much time does WDP management spend every year to talk to the investment community?
Well, Joost Uvens, our co-CEO, together with myself, we are responsible for communicating towards the markets. And I asked Joko, our investor relations, to check how many meetings we've done over the last 12 months. And within our yearly program, we have done over 200 investor meetings next to the quarterly results call. So that's about 10% of our time. And it's, I must say, as we grow, we get more investor attention. It gets more intense, but we believe it is very valuable for the analysts and the investors. They want to approach and discuss with senior management. So we will continue to invest in that. We believe it is important. Admit, however, that the current situation has made us do virtual roadshows, and we just finished our yearly roadshow program, and there we could save a tremendous amount of travel time. So that's what's, let's say, a positive aspect. I think you can perfectly do repeat meetings, not meeting new people, new investors. There you should be rather doing face-to-face, but let's say to do repeat meetings with people you know, and that can be perfectly done in a virtual format. However, like everybody, I think following this survey, I think I look very much to the future to seeing you and the investors analysts again face-to-face at an event.
Okay, well, still impressive numbers that you mentioned there, Michael. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, I suggest that we have a look at the rankings and find out who is the winner of the 2020 award for Best Investor Relations.
Thank you for joining in. Best Investor Relations. We are truly delighted and really proud to bring this award home and being recognized as a top IR team in Belgium. This little award was still the missing link, and so we will proudly add it to our little Hall of Fame. Winning the award is not, it is never, a strategic objective or the purpose of our hard work and our dedication, but goes without saying that it still feels great to get this kind of recognition from time to time. And perhaps in a challenging year like 2020, it has even more value for us, even more so as we know that the award is contributed by key stakeholders in our IR community. So thank you. We see this award as a token of appreciation for the good and the hard work, and also as a good boost going forward to keep the Barco IR truck going. And I'd like to take the opportunity to thank a number of colleagues who contributed in many ways to help the IR van driving safe and smooth and to continue to deliver a great IR service. First of all, the colleagues in the finance department, as they make sure we always have the right load on time and in full. The colleagues in the corporate marketing and communication department for keeping the IR van sharp and in shape, and the colleagues also in the rest of the organization, not to forget our CEO, our CFO. They provide the oil to keep the machine running fluid and to support us to set the turbo from time to time. And last but not least, Barco's investor relations specialist is my mechanic and my navigator in driving this Barco IR truck on a responsive and above standard service level towards Barco's investment community. This award is, in other words, an achievement of a whole team, and let's keep up that good work. Closing, I'd like to thank the ABAF community on organizing the event in this unusual context, and of course also its members, analysts and investors for the appreciation of our work. Thank you, take care and all of the best. Bye-bye.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Kurt de Baans and I'm Head of Investor Relations at KBC Group. It speaks for itself that the entire investor relations team at KBC is very happy and very proud that we won the ABAF Awards, and more in particularly in the categories of Best Investor Relations on one hand and Best Non-Financial Information on the other hand. This is a clear recognition from external stakeholders, so therefore very well appreciated. Of course, at the same time, I would also like to thank all KBC colleagues with whom we cooperate on a daily basis, because it's crystal clear that without their input, insights, good discussions, the investor relations team would not be able to achieve this. So therefore, a big thank you, and remember, we are one team, Team Blue.
Well, next on the list is our rotating award. And let me remind you that this rotating award was first introduced last year when we had a look at the company-specific risks. This year we chose another theme, and the theme of information on market developments and the competitive positioning of the company. And I can say that here, without a doubt, one of the best, or maybe the best practice we saw came from Euronav, and we are showing some images now of a company presentation from Euronav management. This presentation is really packed with relevant and useful information on what's going on in the oil shipping industry, like the demand for and the supply of oil, the supply of vessels, the composition of the Euronav fleet, the economics of scrapping old vessels, etc. So I can announce that Euronav is this year's winner of the award for Best Communication on Market and Competitive Positioning.
Hello, Euronav are delighted and very proud to have our communications efforts recognised in of Best Market and Competitive Information for 2020. My name is Brian Gallagher and I'm Head of Investor Relations at Euronav, and we accept this award on behalf of all the communication staff and management team at Euronav. 2020 has been an exceptional year for everybody and very busy. With the COVID-19 restrictions causing huge disruption globally, Euronav was also subject to geopolitical factors and, of course, incredible disruption in the crude and tanker markets, with the futures price of oil at one point trading negatively for the first time in history in April of this year. Euronav takes its leadership role and responsibility as the largest quoted tanker platform very seriously. Having this recognised by the ABAF and BVFA is not only very humbling for us, but has also raised the bar for us to try and beat this standard for 2021 and beyond. We would like to thank everybody for their recognition of Euronav in this way, and we sincerely hope that next year's event is on a more normal footing and hopefully face to face. Thank you once again, and please stay safe.
So we are coming closer to the end. The one but final award is the award for best mid and small cap. And that, of course, is the award for the highest ranked company that is not part of the BEL 20 index. And I suggest that we have again another look at the rankings and find out about the winner. The winner is Orange Belgium, and Orange Belgium showed a persistent strong performance in all three of the categories. It even made it in the top 5, the overall top 5 ranking, so including the BEL 20 companies. And analysts in particular appreciated its detailed interim reporting with also short publication delays, the collection and publication of consensus numbers, as well as the reliability of its guidance.
Hello, I'm here with the investor relations team. This is Ana Castaño. I am Convamol. I'm heading the investor relations team since the beginning of this year. So regarding the award, we are very proud to receive such an award. It's a really recognition of the communication that we want to do towards the financial world. It actually confirms the transparency that we want to give and the clear messages that we want to put forward. It's also recognition of the fact that inside of Orange Belgium, we are very concerned with this communication. First of all, from the leadership team, of course, but also from the different departments who help indeed to have a perfect and clear communication to the financial world. So we are very proud to receive that, and we are happy to continue to be performant and even to improve ourselves based on what's happened. Thank you very much.
So finally, we have come at the last award, the big prize, the award for Best Financial Communication 2020. Let's have a look at the rankings. So we see that KBC and Proximus have taken the top 2 positions in the final ranking. So what can we say? KBC and Proximus, of course, are consistently strong performers in our annual survey. And this year, KBC was especially appreciated for its communication on the progress and objectives on sustainability, its communication on the impact of COVID-19, and also the quality of its consensus numbers. So I would say well done to KBC. But as KBC won the overall award in 2018, so that is less than 3 years ago, the rules of the award stipulate that in that case, the overall award goes to the next company in the ranking. And that means, of course, that we are very pleased to announce that Proximus is the winner of the overall award for Best Financial Communication 2020. Let me just add that analysts praised Proximus for sharing useful views on the developments within the telecom industry, its crystal clear communication on strategy, including a full set of quantified objectives, but also the precision and reliability of its guidance, and finally, its excellent overall financial disclosure. Well, congratulations to all the winners of the award. Thank you also, Wim and Michael, for sharing your views and for your testimonies. And of course, I also take this opportunity to say thank you to all the analysts. You were 58 in total who helped us to fill in the forms of those 51 companies. Sorry again if I chased you. Sorry again if I stalked some of you in order to get your contributions. But hey, sometimes an analyst has got to do what an analyst has got to do. Wim, maybe a final word from you?
Thank you, Luc. Yes, well, first of all, congratulations to all the winners. But I understand that if you're active in the IR industry, you might be very much interested in the results. And so the cooperation we have with ABAF means that each individual member of Belir will receive the in-depth results in the next days in his or her mailbox. and so the company itself will have insight in all the different, I believe there are 22 different items, and also individual comments that come from the analysts. So that will really help each and every member of us to understand their strengths and their areas for improvement.
Okay, Wim, it was great having you with us this afternoon. And with this, back to you, Hans.
Nancy, congratulations to you, your team, and to Proximus, because you are the overall winner of the award 2020 for Best Financial Communication, or 60th anniversary. Super congratulations. Not only did you win the overall award, but Proximus also has won the award for Best Non-Financial Reporting. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you, of course, to the organization. Thank you to the jury also for this very nice appreciation. And of course, it is not a one-woman show. It is the result of the hard work of many. So in the first place, many thanks to my own investor relations team, but also to the many other colleagues that help us with the external communication, be it financial or non-financial, thinking of the Capital Markets Day, for example. Many thanks, some great teamwork. Thanks.
Top. Dear investment professionals, dear analysts, thank you for watching our digital event, the Digital Awards for Best Financial Communication. We've come to an end of our broadcast, but very important to you is this broadcast can be looked upon again through the LinkedIn site, through the website of the Belgian Association of Financial Analysts, and also in the future. Please do have a look at those LinkedIn messages, and please let's stay in touch. Since we've come to an end, I would like to thank enormously our main sponsor Sipef for hosting and organizing this, but also our co-sponsors Bellier on the one hand side and Fabelfin Academy, who again have helped us and sponsored us through this event. Many thanks goes to the camera teams for all the work they've done here, not always in very easy circumstances. Thank you very much to the people that work for ABAF, to Annick, to the board of ABAF, and to all the people that have helped us through this digital broadcast. Thank you very much and enjoy.